Continue. All right, I'm sending my. All right, everyone. Good morning from Tech Day Pakistan team. We are pleased to kick off our event, Tech Day Pakistan, and it's in 2023 now. We are doing this event for second years, like previously we did in 2022. Now we are doing it in 2023. And so I would like to introduce Hammad Rajjoub, and Hammad Rajjoub will be presenting keynote for this event. Okay, Hammad bhai, I'm just introducing you now. I'm sending you live now.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. I hope you're all doing great. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining from. My name is Hammad Rajjoub. I work as director in Microsoft Security. I look at our data security, compliance, risk, and privacy ecosystem. And it's a pleasure to be here to be talking to you all about in today's keynote. Before I jump into it, I just wanted to say a quick thanks to all the organizers who have got this event together, reached out to me, and requested me to be presenting again. And it's always a pleasure to be with you all. So with that, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to go with a little bit of a rapid pace because I have a lot to cover, and I hope it will be an engaging conversation. Send your questions in the Q&A tab. I'll try to answer them either during the presentation or towards the end of it. But my hope is that it's something that you will learn from, and it'll be a good use of your time. The three things that I really want to cover today. I want to talk about our macroeconomic landscape, the time and space that we're living in. So I'll spend a little bit of context around what's happening, what's going on in the technology industry, and overall macroeconomic situation, if you will. Then I'm going to share what are the opportunities ahead of all of us in terms of technology landscape. What are the things that we can look forward to? Things that are starting to happen now, and that'll bring even more opportunities in the technology landscape. So we're going to spend some time on that. And I have three really interesting things that I will cover in that. I'll talk about cybersecurity, I will talk about generative AI, and I will talk about quantum computation. So those are the three things that I'm going to touch. So really good conversation there. And then in the end, I want to make it interactive. So I'm going to open it for Q&A so you can ask questions about career, about things that I've just shared with you, or any other topic as far as it's technology related, we can touch that as well. That sounds good. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. And say like, hey, this macroeconomic situation that we're living in, it's not really a great time. Is it really a great time to be in technology? And it's very different from where we were last year. So what just happened? Where are we going? What's happening? So I just wanted to acknowledge the elephant in the room. It's a reality that we're going through a recession right now, and we're going through inflationary period right now. We have seen number of massive layoffs in tech industry, and that's the reality that we're living in. So I just wanted to acknowledge that first. This number is growing, so I just wanted to tackle that heads on. What I wanted to share with you also is that this is not the first recession or headwinds the technology has faced, and I can promise you it won't be the last. Change is the only constant. So you got to acknowledge what's happening, but you still got to keep moving on. So my suggestion when you see the news, oh my God, 10,000 people laid off in Microsoft, 12,000 people laid off in Google, X number of thousand people laid off in Salesforce, like what's going on? Amazon is laying off people. Is this over, or should I switch my career, do something else? Should I become a doctor, plumber, electrician? I mean, I'm not stopping you from becoming those things if that's where your passion is, but what I'm saying is Don't switch because of recession or don't switch because of the headwinds. Anything that goes up comes down. And I want you to stay positive. And I will share, hopefully, I'll be able to paint the picture that gives me hope about the future as far as technology is concerned. So I have these discussions with my colleagues, my friends all the time. So I thought I'll share that with you, how to tackle the economic uncertainty that we're living in. Stay positive, control the controllables. You focus on the things that you can control. Don't worry about the variables that are outside of your control. What's happening outside of your control? Ignore it. Don't worry about it. Invest in your skills. Great time to invest in your skills. And I'll share a few areas where I believe are going to be really, really game changer for all of us in the future. And then prepare for it. Be ready for the next wave that's going to come your way. Be ready to ride that wave. And I always share it with everybody is that tough times don't last, tough people do. So become resilient, focus on the future, and control the controllables. Don't get sucked into social media. Don't get sucked into the negative news cycles. Be very clear on what you're trying to do, build a path towards it, and stay focused on that and forget about everything else. So that was my opening spiel. I'm gonna just go into the technology trends, a few things that I thought would be of interest to you all. I know I have a very short time, but I wanted to make it worthwhile for you all. So let's jump into the key technology trends and associated opportunities and challenges ahead. Okay. The three things, like I said, that I want to talk about. First one is cybersecurity. Second one is generative AI, and the third one is quantum computing, and particularly post-quantum cryptography. And I'll touch that in next few minutes. But for now, let's focus on cybersecurity. Security, cybersecurity has never been more critical. Cyber attacks are becoming more frequent and sophisticated. There is just increasing pressure to address the multi-cloud, multi-platform, the distributed data landscape that exists out today. So if you travel back in time, 2 years, 3 years ago, a lot of us were forced to go to office. Our data was within the IT environment that our companies had set up. We would go to an office environment, we'll work there, and then we'll come back home. And our work will remain in the office. With the pandemic and with the coming of hybrid work environment and remote work environment, our data has exfiltrated. It's no longer sitting on one server or one cloud or within the control of one organization. It's everywhere. So that's why it is becoming increasingly critical for enterprises to make sure that their IT environments, multi-cloud, multi-platform, are secure. Along with all of that, and maybe not so much in Pakistan, but in a lot of advanced and developing countries, it is becoming a requirement to meet the regulatory needs for a given geography. GDPR is a great example of that. They forced privacy-related controls on organizations. Any organization that operates within the European Union boundary, they have to comply with GDPR, and if you don't, they are very, very heavy regulatory um, fines and brand damage uh, as an adverse outcome of that. All of that, and you add another layer of complexity on top of that, saying that there are large-scale cyber attacks, Nobinium, Hafnium, like Colonial Pipeline. They're just massive scales of ransomware attacks that are happening all the time. They've increased 150% year over year. Phishing attacks have increased 667% since March 2020. There are close to 579 password attacks carried out every second. So just the need, just the depth and the breadth of cybersecurity landscape is just a big, big, big top of mind, big opportunity and big challenge for our customers, for large enterprises. And all of that, married with the technology environment being so complex. I gave you a few examples, right? Let's just kind of put that into perspective here. So there's a clear blurring of lines happening in the result of an overlapping of really a web of technology, right? Like many organizations do not own and manage outright where data is created, on which device it is created, who's creating what, when, where, how, and who is it getting sent to, right? So if you don't have control on it, then how do you keep up with the sophistication of today's threats that you run into that? And then again, on top of that, business and security leaders are facing even more tougher choices with even fewer resources than before. So think of it like data is distributed, platforms are distributed, and users are distributed. How do you go make sense of it? So that's why cybersecurity will continue to be top of mind for a lot of customers, a lot of enterprise organizations, and there is just tons of opportunities in this space overall. I'm going to share a Microsoft specific view with you here, just to kind of give you some sense of numbers of the scale of where we are and where we're going, and you can think about what other similar large cybersecurity companies are doing in this space. This will give you a sense of where is the opportunity for you all as you go and build your careers in cybersecurity. So just 43 trillion threat signals are being consumed every day. Not million, not billion, 43 trillion signals every single day. Just imagine the scale of that. Just imagine that we are at a machine scale now. Humans cannot make sense of that, right? You need machine to be able to consume those signals and be able to take actions out of it. There's just organized crime on the other side, like just the unique set of nation state cyber criminals who are becoming threat actors. So the wars are being fought and won and lost in the cyberspace now. So that's another angle of that. That's why it's very critical for not only for companies, but also nations to become cyber resilient. And then Microsoft as a whole, as a company, we blocked 70 billion attacks just last year. Just imagine the volume of these numbers. And we are protecting close to 860,000 customers across 120 plus countries. So I hope this gives you a sense of breadth and depth of opportunities, challenges and opportunities associated with this landscape. And I believe this will continue to grow. There will continue to be need for cybersecurity professionals, both across developer related roles, but also across IT admin roles. And I will paint a little bit more picture on where this is going in conjunction with AI and post-quantum cryptography as well. So that was my big one part of a forward-looking view from a technology landscape perspective. Let's jump into the second part. Generative AI. I believe you've all heard about it. We've all seen it in news, on social media, in our conversations with our colleagues, with our friends. It's very pervasive. It's everywhere. We're seeing it. We're living in the time and space of generative AI. So what is it? Just to kind of set the context a little bit more, it's a type of AI that focuses on generating new content such as images, video, audio, text. And it's unlike traditional AI approach that is designed to recognize and classify existing data. So the generative AI is really about creating new content, whereas traditional AI approaches have been classifying existing data and or making predictions on the basis of existing data. So I'll give you an example. Like you can use a supervised learning algorithm that might be trained to recognize and classify images of cats and dogs, right? And you can train it on a large data set on labeled images, and it'll be able to tell you at any given image, is it a cat or a dog? It'll be able to do that. Generative AI, on the other hand, is focused on creating new content that's similar to existing data. So an example would be an AI algorithm might be trained on a data set of cats and dog images and then used to create new images of cats and dogs. So these Images did not exist before, but you trained it on existing images, and now it's able to create net new images for you. So generative AI algorithms are often based on deep learning neural networks, which are designed to learn and represent complex patterns in data. Another key difference between generative AI and traditional AI approaches is the amount of data required. So generative AI requires way more data because it's multidimensional. Think about color, texture, shape, context, all of those things become really, really important from that perspective. So generative AI is up and coming. There's just tons of opportunities associated with that. There's just different models that are being used. There's generative adversarial networks, GANs as we call them. There's variational autoencoders, VAEs, or autoregressive models. There's just a lot of stuff going on in that space. But I just wanted to kind of paint a quick picture in front of you so you know where the space is going. And let's look at it. What does it mean in action, right? Um, so one of the images that you see is it's an AI generated portrait that was sold for more than $400,000 recently. So somebody used the generative AI algorithm, created that image, and sold it. So you can create art on the basis of that. Google has created this Dolly image generator where you provide it with a prompt or seed images, and it can go and create those new images for you based on the data that it has already been trained on. There's also Deep Dream that can create dreamy images. You can provide the context prompts, etc., and it can go and do that. But I want to talk about ChatGPT, right? Like we've all heard about what ChatGPT has been able to do. It's a conversational AI. You can go and talk to it, and it can give you answer. It's already been integrated with Bing. A lot of people are using it. GPT-3 model was announced very recently. It was in the news, and I'm hearing that ChatGPT-4 is going to come very soon. So that's like those are called typically large language models, LLMs, and they are game changer in the flow of work. Like how do you converse? How do you do context sensitive conversation with an AI engine, with a chat engine, and be able to find the answers for the topics that you're looking for? A quick disclaimer, this whole AI topic that I'm talking about and a little bit of what I'm going to touch base on the post-quantum cryptography side, I created that content using ChatGPT 3 model. So I was talking to ChatGPT, I have this presentation I need to deliver tonight. Give me a few topics, give me a few contents, give me a few points that I can come and present to you all. So you're seeing that in action. So imagine how you can use that in the flow of work to generate new content, to generate new conversations, and be able to increase your productivity significantly as you go forward. So just like for security, I shared a Microsoft view. I'm going to share a little bit of Microsoft view of what we're doing with OpenAI. Our CEO recently announced that we're planning to build OpenAI capabilities into all of our products. So just like you had AI becoming democratized and become part of everything that we do, we're also going to incorporate OpenAI into everything that we do. So you can think about how it will light up in the context of Azure development, in the context of Office 365, Microsoft 365, security. So it's a combination of GPT-3, Codex, Dolly 2, all of that kind of becomes fair game from that perspective. So we are truly going to see pervasiveness of large language models, LLMs, and integration of OpenAI into Microsoft's technology stack. And I'm going to try and find this link and this presentation that Sam Altman, the CEO of and the co-founder of OpenAI, did recently. And somebody was asking him, like, hey, what does the future hold for ChatGPT and OpenAI in general? And what are the transformations that we're going to see in the future? I want to set a little bit of context before I go into his answer. So the context is, at the advent of 19th century, when we went into the age of mechanical and electrical revolution, a lot of people thought like, hey, the manual labor is gone, machines are going to come and replace us, we'll not be able to find any work. But very quickly we realized that humans always move up in the value chain and they start solving higher order problems. So instead of moving trees and logs from one place to the other, we moved up the value chain, we created those rail networks and started moving things en masses, and humans were still doing more value added things. Think of the advance of the machine, the locomotives with the cars coming in. Also, the horse riding went away, but humans became the drivers of the car. Then with the digital revolution, with computers coming in, we did not have to memorize times tables anymore. We could program it. We could crunch the data using our computers at a very fast, rapid pace. That did not mean that humans were left out of the loop of productivity. So if anything, humans move up in the value chain, and then the machines and the innovations that humans create help us replace that low value work. So think of humans to continue to be in the loop of that deliverable, of that work, of that task, increasing the productivity, but not really worrying about losing the job, right? Because you're going to move up in the value chain. So I'm going to go back to what Sam Altman kind of answered to his question on, hey, what does the future look like? Where will this go? So right now, if you go and interact with ChatGPT, and I would highly recommend you just go to bing.com, sign up, and you'll be able to see it. We're constantly adding new people to be able to try that. As you go and do that, you will see that it's a very generic language model, right? It's very generic. You can go and you can say, hey, tell me about what is a large language model, or what are the challenges associated with cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. Or you can say, you can create me a presentation for a technical keynote that I want to deliver. It can go and do all of those things. They're very general things. Imagine taking that large language model and training it in the legal context, right? So how lawyers go in and build their argument and drive a discussion and argument and drive a case with a judge or with other lawyers in the room. Now you can take an LLM model, train it on the data that is very specific to the legal and regulatory needs of a particular country, and train it on the law for a particular region. And now you have a model that can go and argue on your behalf. You provide it with the facts of a given case, and it can go and fight that case on your behalf. So very soon you can start seeing things like you will have an e-lawyer, for example. Like it's a language model that can act as your lawyer in a conversation, and it can represent your interest in that conversation. So I'll give you another example of just to kind of make that picture in your mind. If last 10-15 years were all about apps, where apps were smart things on our phone that we could go and interact with and get things done, maybe ordering food or ordering a cab or booking a flight. Imagine a similar kind of constructs coming through that will be the advancement of those language models that will allow you to do very specific things, very specialized things. So e-lawyer is one example that comes to mind. So that's where we're going in this space. The generative AI is not going anywhere. And remember, it's multimodal, it's conversational, it's text, audio, video. It will continue to grow, right? So tons of opportunities are going to come your way. So if this is my second key thing that I wanted to land with you in terms of set of opportunities ahead of you in this space overall. So let's switch gears. Let's go into the third topic that I wanted to talk about. That's the post quantum cryptography. It's, as we call it, PQC. I'm going to say a little bit of context around. I'm not going to go into the details of. So let's see the question coming in. I'm going to try and answer that if I can. Oh, and I lost my screen. Can somebody come
I
off
can
mute?
just I can
Yeah,
just add a question
sure.
if that's
Yes,
okay
please go
with you.
for it.
Thanks a lot for all the content that you've sort of delivered so far. It's really valuable. I just wanted to sort of touch upon you've sort of touched very important key points on security, as well as also adding the AI, the evolution of AI that's been happening, the rapid evolution that's been happening. So in terms of, if we were to sort of connect both cybersecurity and AI, and sort of look into the regulation aspect, right? What are some of the steps that are being taken at the moment in terms of the AI modeling capabilities that Microsoft develops or sort of partners with OpenAI, right? So what are some of these initiatives? And I would be sort of interested to know, like, what are some of the checks that are being added on the ChatGPT side of things, in order to make it more safer and more, more secure, obviously, for the wider audience and the customers of Microsoft.
100%. Great questions. So I'll answer your question number one first. So if you remember, I was talking about trillions of signals capturing every day. If you have those signals coming in real time, how do you make sense of those signals? We cannot do that at human speed. So that's where a lot of AI and ML capabilities are coming in. Like, you've trained AI models to say, like, here is what a cyber threat looks like. Every time you see an anomaly, you can flag it. So there's that part kind of kicks in, because you cannot do it at the human scale. You need AI ML capabilities to be able to make sense of the trillions of signals that are coming every day. So then each large company like Microsoft, who is in cybersecurity, dealing with a large amount of data, they are creating their own algorithms. They're all creating their own capabilities that can consume that data and be able to say, all right, this signal is a threat and you got to do X, Y, and Z. And that, again, that's happening real time, trillions of signals every day. That's got to be automated. That's got to be done at scale. And there are hundreds of thousands of customers that Microsoft has to serve. And imagine tens of thousands of devices distributed in different platforms, different clouds, different platforms. You got to be able to go and got to be able to consume those signals, identify the threat, and be able to mitigate it in real time in those environments. So that's where the AI ML capabilities and automation is going. Humans are still in the loop. They see what's happening, but they don't have to roll their sleeves and log into Ms. Bar's machine and say, like, hey, there is some malicious activity going on and so forth, and I'm going to do that. Machine does it, but human gets notified and is kept in the loop. So that's part one. Part two is, if you bring it into the ChatGPT side and you say, like, hey, what are the checks and balances? Maybe you talked about the regulatory needs. So think about all the privacy constructs, everything that's done in this space, particularly in generative AI. Privacy has to be built in the heart of it, right? Imagine I can provide a prompt to ChatGPT or a generative AI model in that example to say, hey, create a video of Hammad playing cricket. I've trained that machine learning that generative AI algorithm on what Hammad looks like, and I've trained that algorithm on what cricket looks like. Can it generate that video of me playing that cricket? And if that thing starts happening, then the deep fakes come in. Like, then the question is, how do you make sure that you are able to bifurcate what's fact versus what's generated? So that's where the privacy regulations are going to come in, that everything that's being generated does not infringe on somebody's privacy rights. And also, how do we make sure that we embed that attributes in any content that we generate, that yes, this is an AI generated content. So there is no confusion in the audience's mind that if this was real versus generated. But we're still in the early days. It's a good question. It'll be definitely an interesting space for us to see. All right, so I'm going to keep going. I know I have a couple of minutes left. I'll try to be as succinct as possible. So quantum computing, as you know, is different from classical computing because it's not zeros and ones. It's based on the principles of qubits. And what it does is it has a notion of quantum superposition, meaning that at any point qubit can be uh, not only in 0 and 1, but number of stages between 0 and 1. And then quantum entanglement, meaning one qubit can affect what the other qubit looks like and behaves like. And what it really does is it allows us to solve problems that were not easily solvable with the classic computer. So that's why quantum computing is super, super important. But at the same time, building quantum computers at scale continues to be a hard problem to solve for, just because qubits are very, very sensitive to the environment that they operate in. So let's just talk about PQC a little bit, what it means, what are the challenges. Current cryptographic algorithms, all of those are based on, let's say the RSA algorithm, for example, they're based on mathematical models that are hard to solve using classical computers, but they are not hard to solve using quantum computers, because quantum computers can use that quantum entanglement and superposition to be able to solve those problems in relatively efficient time. So I'm not going to go into the details. There are different types of classes of computer problems, NP hard, NP complete. That's where it kind of comes in as well. But suffice it to say that PQCs, the cryptographic algorithms, are designed to be the algorithms that can help us secure our data even when we are facing attacks from quantum computers. So we're taking that classical problem and bringing it into the quantum era. And what we need to do going forward is to migrate all the work that has been done in the cybersecurity space and translate that into post-quantum cryptography era, meaning we secure it, safeguard it from the attacks coming in from the quantum infrastructure. So there's going to be tons of opportunities in this space. This is a developing space. A lot of companies and analysts have already talking about post-quantum cryptography. I will highly encourage you to go and learn more about it. So this was the third thing that I wanted to touch on. So if I want to bring it back, summarize it for you, be resilient. We are going to go through a difficult time period. We're going through a difficult time period. It will continue to be like that. But at the same time, there are tons of opportunities ahead. Pick your niche, pick the area that you're passionate about, invest your time and resources in it, learn about it, develop your skills in that area. But most importantly, don't stand still and keep moving forward. With that, I want to thank you. I want to thank you all. Thanks the organizers and the folks who have joined us for this session today. Shukriya aap sabka aur shukriya Pakistan. Back to you guys.